Welcome to Flash News Now. Here are today's top 12 stories. Workers remove Trump's name from Kennedy Center after court ruling. Judge says Trump-backed board's move to add president's name unlawful, requires congressional approval. Anthropic suspends new AI tools over U.S. government security concerns. Anthropic's Claude Fable 5, released publicly this week, sparked concerns about cybersecurity and hacking. From colony to cell, sexual violence in Israeli prisons. This testimony is part of a wider pattern documented in reports describing sexual abuse inside Israeli prisons. Anthropic disables access to top-tier AI models after U.S. ban on foreign use. AI giant Anthropic said in a statement released Friday that it had disabled its most advanced AI models, known as Fable 5 and Mythos 5, after the U.S. government ordered it to suspend access to the models for foreign nationals, citing unspecified national security concerns. NATO weighs options to defend Europe as the U.S. plans for conflict elsewhere. The shift in U.S. force posture, cutting the number of aircraft and warships pledged for a European crisis, signals a recalibration of American strategic priorities, potentially toward the Indo-Pacific and other global commitments. For NATO, this development forces a reassessment of the flexible response model that has underpinned its deterrence doctrine for decades. If the U.S. is less willing to commit conventional assets to a European theater, the alliance must either accelerate its own force buildup or deepen reliance on non-traditional deterrents, such as cyber and hypersonic capabilities. Fans reveal how much they paid for World Cup tickets. The disclosure of out-of-pocket costs for the tournament's inaugural match strikes at a fault line between the sport's global branding ambitions and the lived realities of its grassroots supporters, a tension that is now playing out in real time as the 2026 World Cup expands across 3 nations. By exposing a spread that ranges from modest standard seats to premium packages costing several $1,000s, fans are forcing organizers and FIFA to confront the optics of a marquee event that, on paper, champions inclusivity while pricing out a sizable swath of its traditional audience. This debate dovetails with growing scrutiny of secondary market platforms, which have amplified price inflation and raised questions about transparency and consumer protection. Iran peace deal: Lebanon is the one to chart its own path forward. The timing of a tentative U.S.-Iran wording accord is significant because it arrives as regional powers scramble to fill the diplomatic vacuum that Washington's own withdrawal from Afghanistan and Iraq has left, and as Tehran tests the limits of its recent overtures toward the Gulf after the 2023 nuclear talk collapse. If the language can survive the hardliner backlash in both Tehran's Revolutionary Guard and Washington's Congress, it could become the first framework for a broader de-escalation that would constrain proxy conflicts in Syria, Yemen and, crucially, Lebanon's own fragile sectarian balance. Musk becomes world's first trillionaire as SpaceX shares soar. Cuba, Díaz-Canel announces economic reforms to attract investment. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel on Friday announced a package of economic reforms aimed at attracting investment, expanding participation by Cubans living abroad in the economy and decentralizing parts of the country's administration. Kenya, World Cup fever hits Kibera's second-hand jersey market. The World Cup is well and truly underway, and so is the jersey craze. We're taking you to the second-hand market in Kibera, Kenya, where enthusiasts scour the stalls in search of hidden treasures. One of these bargain hunters is Antonio Massari, an Italian-born volunteer English teacher in Kibera, who has made the market his favorite spot. World Cup, Mexico beats South Africa 2-0. Mexico's 2-0 rout of South Africa at the Azteca is far more than an opening day flourish. It signals a tactical recalibration that could reshape the tournament's midfield battle. The Mexicans' compact 4-3-3, with a defensive midfielder tracking back and a winger delivering a blistering 88th-minute strike, showcases a balance between counter-pressing and swift transitional play that has historically faltered against South Africa's discipline zone. Their success hinges on the trio of seasoned internationals Alvarez, the central defender, Ruiz, the deep-lying playmaker, and the newly promoted midfielder, whose late-game creativity eclipsed the host's expected advantage of experience. Indian PM Modi in France to attend G7 summit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to hold bilateral talks with U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit. What will be on the agenda? We spoke with Amlendu Mishra, Professor of International Politics at Lancaster University. That was your Flash News Now bulletin. Subscribe for more.